We're live. We're live here. We're live here. All right, so we're live on YouTube and Facebook. We're live on Instagram. How's everybody doing? Can I have a sip? Please, baby.
No.
Can I have a sip?
Nah.
Come on. You got the cooties?
Yep, I got the Rona.
It's amazing how that's just not near as good as Topo Chico. Totally different ball game.
It's also
Totally different
cheaper.
ball game.
So
All right, so we are starting off the day talking about hormones and how they can impact weight loss.
Yep.
So, you want to start, baby?
Sure. So there are not a million. There's a bunch of different kinds of hormones that we're talking about. So there's sex hormones, there's thyroid hormones, there's all different kinds of hormones in your body. And it's not just about women and women's hormones, which is generally the most talked about subject. If any of your hormones are thrown off, it can affect your weight loss. It can affect your fitness journey. It can affect a lot of things, which is why your hormones should be in a balanced place. So, as a person who has kind of dealt with this stuff, I have noticed that when your body is stressed, when it's not in a safe place, you do have an extremely hard time losing weight. As soon as I started to feel better with my hormones and my health, I started dropping the weight. But I think a lot of people are not even helping themselves when it comes to this conversation, because most of the time you're not eating enough in the first place. That's what I feel like. What do you?
I'm just smiling at you. You cute, baby.
He says I'm cute, but that means you're being dumb and you need to think about something before you say something.
No.
But I think most of the time people aren't eating enough, which can also make your hormones a little bit worse. And you need to be able to put yourself in a safe spot. Your body needs to be in a safe place, which means your hormones need to heal before you even think about trying to lose weight. Can it prevent you from losing weight? Yes. But that's okay, because your body needs to find that safe place before you try and lose the weight. It's frustrating. It's really freaking annoying. But you have to do it because your body needs to be safe and happy again.
Can I talk?
Sure.
All right, so like stress hormones, like she's talking about, specifically cortisol. Everybody knows cortisol. It's a good thing. You don't want to not have cortisol, but you can have elevated cortisol when your body is in a state of stress. That can be because of your work situation, your spouse situation, your lack of sleep. A lot of things that cause an increase in cortisol.
Or an extreme dip.
A dip?
Yeah.
Like in what, calories?
Like, no, cortisol.
Just general? Yeah.
Yeah.
I dip, you dip, we dip.
Like mine, when I got mine tested, my cortisol wasn't high. It was like non-existent.
Yeah. So I've had competitors that like they would have super high stress levels, and then we'd say, okay, let's just not do as much training for a week, or let's have a calorie increase for a week. And their body would relax, their mind would relax, and all of a sudden the weight would start falling off again. So if you're like just overly stressed and just totally psychomaniac mode because you're just crazy cortisol levels, that can, with 100% without a doubt, cause you to plateau in your weight loss journey. Or even increase in your fat gain. So not an optimal situation to be in. From a leptin and ghrelin standpoint, those are your hunger hormones. So if those are skewed, if those are not balanced, which they will be out of balance when you go into a really deep caloric deficit or something like that. But if they're not in balance, at the get-go, that's going to kind of cause a skew, because you're not really going to know what the best intake is, because you're not going to be getting those proper hunger signaling hormones from what your day-to-day caloric intake is. So that can cause a misguided foundational starting point from your weight loss journey right out of the gates. When it comes to sex hormones, testosterone, all of that can, there's a lot of guys that have low testosterone to start, and then that number only drops as they get deeper and deeper into a prep. And that's going to cause a plateau or a lessening effect of your fat loss. For an example, when I started my prep, I was at, I think, 700 or 800 total testosterone. By the end of the prep, I was at 450 or 500. I think 450, somewhere in that ballpark. The lower your numbers get, if they're not healthy levels, that can cause a slowed rate of fat loss, just from a testosterone standpoint. From an estrogen standpoint, if you have elevated estrogen, that can cause your body to hold on to more fat than is necessary. Do you remember your estrogen? Your estrogen was good, right?
Yeah, my estrogen, my progesterone, all of that was actually pretty good. The ratio between the two was off, but it really wasn't anything significant. Mine were all like my neurotransmitters and things like that.
Yeah, a good rule of thumb is just to get all these numbers checked at the onset. Like if you know that you've been at a deficit for far too long, if you've been like chronic dieting your whole life, then increase the calories, get a baseline hormone panel done so you can know what your hormones are at the onset. If you are at a healthy level, you have a healthy caloric intake, healthy maintenance, healthy body fat, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go into a contest prep, I'm gonna go into a cut, I'm gonna try and get a deficit and lose more body fat. Get all your baseline numbers drawn then. Make sure that you're starting from a good hormonal standpoint before you do anything extreme with your body, whether that's losing a bunch of body fat, cutting calories, going on some crazy expedition to run an ultra marathon every week, whatever that may be. Having a good baseline hormone panel done is going to be key.
Totally agree. So, what can we do to heal these hormones, in any of these hormones, to get better and to be able to lose that weight again, or maybe start a cut, or do the crazy ultra marathon, or whatever it is that you want to do? So
Eat a bunch of carbs. Carbs help stabilize hormones.
He's kidding, for anyone who doesn't know. So you gotta stop playing with that thing. So 1, getting plenty of sleep and allowing your body to rest. That is number 1. Number 2, eat plenty of calories, making sure you're getting plenty of protein, but also plenty of fat. 3, 4. I don't know where I'm at with my numbers. What else can we do? What else?
Training, having a legitimate, consistent workout routine that can actually improve your hormones as well.
And training, you need to figure out your body's what it's telling you. For a while, I lightened up on my workouts. I felt great, so I was like, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna do strongman stuff, and my body started kicking back and saying, "No, nice try." And so I started lightening up my workouts again. Then I increased my frequency, and I've been doing really well. So you just have to allow your body to adjust with you, and don't try to overdo it because you mentally can't get over the fact that you have to lighten your workouts. It is hard, especially when you're used to or consistently been working out or lifting heavy or whatever it is that you do. It can be mentally hard to take that step back, but sometimes that's what your body needs. Making sure your electrolytes are on point. I know that sounds weird, but that can be really beneficial. That can be very, very helpful. Making sure that you're supplementing, making sure that your vitamin D and all that kind of stuff is up. You're drinking plenty of water, giving your body all of the good things that it needs and that you know that it needs. But just putting your body into a safe place, allowing it to know that it can relax. Meditating or deep breathing before or after exercise, during stressful points in the day, things like that, they're all helpful. It allows your body to feel safe, and it allows you to have that recovery moment after an exciting moment, or after right before you eat. Actually calming your body before you eat and smelling the food, and all that's going to help you digest the food better. There's so many different little things that you can do to help yourself, but you just have to make one step at a time and just think about each moment that you're living. Am I stressed out right now? Do I need to take a step back, or am I good to go? And I can push myself in this moment. There's times for both, and you just kind of have to figure out for your body what's going to be best.
Ditto on all that. All right, let's dive into some questions here.
This one says, eating at 1 keto brick a day helps keep stress away. Not the doctor.
I like it. Dana, what's up? Hi, guys. Pamela says, hey, from Arkansas. What's up, Pamela?
Aww.
Brandon says, hi, everybody.
How long do I stay in the induction phase? This is someone from DSK.
All right. Is that an induction phase question?
Induction phase.
I don't know if that's DSK related specifically though. That's what my
Oh,
macro
oh,
calculator
that's
says.
right.
So
I
it all
forgot.
just depends. Um, it's gonna be different for everybody.
Oh,
Induction phase. Hold on, real quick. It's so hard to step back from training, but so important. It is very important. All right, so let me answer this question real quick. Um, Induction phase is basically in the context of not having been on the keto diet really before. So you're having higher carbohydrates. You're probably not having high enough dietary fat. Your ratio is probably off. Your protein is probably too high. Your calories probably too high. That's what the context of the induction phase is. So you do the induction phase, it puts you at a caloric deficit, which is going to ramp up ketone production. It's got a very high fat ratio. I would recommend staying in that for minimum a couple weeks, preferably a month, but know what your calories are beforehand. Like that's my macro tracker. I like my macro tracker. I vouch for my macro tracker, but any macro tracker is just a rough estimate. It's just a generalized good place to start if you have no clue. If you can track your own current intake for a couple weeks or longer prior to adjusting your macro, that's going to be the best thing you can do because you can kind of establish what your current baseline is. So I'd recommend you do that first and foremost. Um, Greetings from LA. What's up, Ruben? Mary says, my husband's testosterone is around 300. Could that be why he is having a hard time losing? Anything he can do besides take prescription testosterone? So I would recommend, let's see, what would I recommend? I would recommend eating, I don't know what his diet's like, but having like testosterone. So cholesterol gets a bad rep. Cholesterol is the precursor to testosterone. You have to have enough good cholesterol. You have to have enough fat in your diet, dietary fat, to have enough good cholesterol. So I don't know if he's keto or not, but if he's not keto, then having more dietary fat would be a huge step in the right direction.
mm-hmm. What's up, fam? Happy belated birthday, Crystal. Thank you very much.
What's up, Trevor?
Robert, while wearing your CGM, did you ever notice times where your blood sugar has been high and don't know why?
That rhymes. So my blood sugar is high after training. It would be high first thing in the morning due to the dawn phenomenon. There were a couple periods where like it would be higher than I would anticipate, but I also did notice that it it registered quite a bit higher than my blood test would read, like just with the finger prick. So what I would do is track that, like do a couple blood tests at the same time you take a reading from your CGM and see if there's a whole bunch of disparity there. If there is, you may need to adjust your baseline down a little bit on your CGM. Mine, I dropped by like 20 milligrams per deciliter because it was consistently about 20 milligrams higher than any of my other testing devices. So check that and adjust the baseline if you need to.
Also, I would say, I hate to say exciting moments, but like
Sex will make it go up. Is that what you're getting at?
yes, exciting moments. Okay, there's might be children listening. Okay, but yes, but I also think maybe like stressful moments, like if you have stressful moments throughout the day, that can definitely cause that. But
Exciting
yes,
moments.
yeah, I don't know how to say it when I'm trying to be proper. But yeah, things like that, stressful, anything like super exciting, you're like, whatever, you get it.
You got it. Jeremy says, I'm a firefighter and I found that when I cut down to less than 40 grams of carbs a day, that I don't feel like I have good strength for workouts. Should I add some carbs so I don't feel gassed too fast? No. I would argue that you feel negative after you drop below 40 grams of carbs a day because you probably aren't super deeply adapted at the higher fat ratio with the proper protein to fat intake. So what I would recommend doing is dropping well below 40 grams a day, figuring out what your body responds best to from a fat and protein ratio and getting that dialed in. 40 grams carbs, that's not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but if you're not super deeply adapted, it can make a difference if you're kind of in that limbo purgatory area. Whereas if you drop that lower, get that out of the equation entirely and figure out what protein and fat ratio you're going to respond best to, that's going to do much better for you.
I also have one more thing to say. You might, yeah, protein to fat is a big thing. Some people do better with higher protein. Some people do better with higher fat for the energy. But also making sure that, well, you're eating plenty. You'd be surprised at how many people, even men, don't eat very much. And then there was one other thing I was going to say. Shoot, I forgot it, but if I remember, I will come back to you. Thank you. Oh, Bailey said hi. Hello, Bailey. Thank you for answering. I've been on keto since 2018. I stumbled across your tracker to get started my cut, and I'm losing weight slowly after failing reverse diet.
Reverse diet's so important.
Yeah, it is.
Ruben says, how would you go about prepping my body to start a keto diet? Track your baseline intake for sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Track your baseline intake for sure. And then I recommend starting at a higher fat ratio. It just kind of depends where you're coming from. Like a lot of people prefer to start at a higher fat ratio, and then that's what I recommend doing. That's what I feel best at. But a lot of people start with, more protein. A lot of people have all the keto treats to begin with and kind of phase those out. Kind of depends on your personality type. Like if you're one of those rip it off like a band-aid approach, then high fat, moderate protein, very minimal carbohydrate right out of the gates.
Okay, I remembered what I was going to say to the firefighter. Okay, number one, food quality. I know that sounds silly. I don't know where you're getting your carbohydrates from, but if it's from like keto treats, or if it's from fruit or whatever, you might want to think about how clean the source of those carbs are, and then also how clean the source is of your meat and the other foods that you're eating, because that will affect your energy, and it's affected by how well it is absorbed into your body. So if you're eating foods that aren't as great quality, like whole foods is what I'm getting at. If you're not just eating whole foods and you're kind of eating like keto junk or sausages with dextrose in it or things like that, you might not be getting as good quality, so you might not be absorbing all the nutrients that you actually need. And then secondly, making sure that your electrolytes are on point. That makes a huge difference, like huge difference in energy levels. So maybe think about when you're feeling that dip, just like taking a little drink of like Redmond's Relight or whatever kind of electrolyte stuff that you use.
I like it.
I love your lives. Hoping to collab with y'all. I'm starting my own health business inspired by y'all and using keto in support to my active military lifestyle. Any tips for building my brand?
Oh, we could have a whole discussion on building a brand.
Be true to yourself.
Yeah, and go ultra niche, like go super niche. Like you've got a health business inspired by y'all using keto in support of my active military lifestyle. So double down on the military community. Like use that as your niche. Like don't try to appeal to all people for all things, or else you'll appeal to no one. So go really niche with your focus. Anastasia, that's a cool name. How in the world do you eat enough protein? I eat 2 eggs at one meal and 20 to 30 grams of meat at another and can't seem to eat much more.
20 to 30 grams
of meat.
Right.
I eat a lot of food.
Yeah. I also enjoy yogurt. So I get like a higher protein yogurt. If you have a harder time I don't know, you could also eat like a leaner meat. I know that sounds maybe not appealing to a lot of keto people, but you can also add collagen to a drink, or you can, there's a lot of ways to like sneak it in, but that's definitely very little. If you're eating 20 to 30 grams from meat and then 2 eggs, you're probably only getting like about 50 grams of protein, which is way too little. Like you don't want to be that little. So if you can find another way of getting it in, like that collagen or bone broth, like you can just drink bone broth. Any way that you can find to eat some more protein. Also,
even shakes. I don't ever recommend shakes, but if that's going to help bridge the gap and get more in, then do that.
Yeah. Also, don't be afraid to eat more meals. A lot of people on keto are like, don't eat more meals. You just want to eat once a day. If you aren't getting in your food, you need to eat more meals. If you need to spread it out, then do just that. Whatever you need to do in order to keep your body healthy, that is the whole point of all of this.
Mindy says, try egg whites, ground turkey breast, add your own fat. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, that's totally good.
Yeah, totally fine.
More protein than what she's getting in for sure. You missing some on Instagram?
Okay, so we have another one. Don't you feel age is another factor that will affect weight loss? What will be most important and have a higher fat ratio or protein ratio? What will help in weight loss or need more exercise?
Age definitely impacts weight loss. I mean, that's going to impact your hormones, like we were talking about earlier. That's going to impact your recovery time and your training. There's going to be a lot of factors that come into play with age. It's going to be much better if you have a great position to start from the beginning with. Like if you're already active, if you're already healthy, if you're already keto adapted as you get older, you're going to be much better off for it than trying to like switch and do all those things once you're already older. As far as like what ratio is better, that's going to be highly individualized. So don't be afraid of experiment with it and see what you perform best at. Generally speaking, myself and the vast majority of my clients, I do have some clients that do respond better with higher protein intake, but most of them see more weight loss with a higher fat ratio. Most of them.
Excuse me.
You got the hiccups, baby? All right. Any other questions?
Jonathan says, "What's up?"
What's up, Jay Shane? The Keto Road. I think I do it better than him.
No.
I think I do it better than him.
You can't do it better than him. He's the original.
I know, but he got it from me.
Don't worry, Jonathan. I'm on your side.
Because I would always say, Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com. That's when he started saying, Jay Shane, the Keto Road. He's just trying to be like me, Jonathan. I know what's up.
Just allow him to be his own person, Robert. Nobody wants to be like you.
Yes. I want to drink your water.
No. Oh my goodness. This guy is like a child. He steals all my food and all of my drinks.
I steal your food?
Yeah.
When do I steal your food?
Well, you haven't because you've been in prep, but you do steal my food.
Whatever.
You do.
About to fight online here.
She's
Mindy
spitting
says,
facts always.
Do you let Jack in the room today, Robert? No, Jack's crazy, Mindy. I don't like
He's
Jack.
Not crazy.
I'm not a fan of Jack.
So we're in Robert's office right now, and Jack is not allowed in Robert's offices. So if we're ever in Robert's office doing this,
you want to know why, Mindy? Because he sheds really bad. But that's not even the main reason. I got a vacuum for that. He'll go out and we feed him raw meat. Yeah. And he'll go out and he'll get a big old mouthful of this raw meat. And then he'll come and bury it in my rug. And then I'll be walking in here barefoot to work early in the morning. And then all of a sudden I'm stepping in raw meat. Like you shouldn't have to step in raw meat when you come into work. Here we go. What is the best way to determine the appropriate protein? 0.8 times lean body mass? Thanks. That's a great question, Kelly. 0.8 is a pretty good starting point. I think it's going to be very individualized, but a good safety window is like between 0.8 and 1.5. Somewhere in that range, you should be totally solid, depending on what your goal is, what your level of adaptation is, what your level of training is. But between 0.8 and 1.5, 1.5 being pretty on the aggressive end, you should be totally solid.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about the next. Sorry, go ahead.
So mean.
He is mean.
What is your favorite protein source? Thank you.
Okay. I prefer leaner meats. I do love like leaner beef, like steak, like sirloin and things like that. But I personally really love chicken, and I know that everyone hates me for it, but it's fine. Go ahead. You have better keto answers.
I just realized that my meat is frozen for the day. What am I going to eat today?
I don't know, but you should tell them that your favorite protein source.
So I like to keep things super simple. I get like a grass-fed ground beef, and then depending on what my macros are, I'll have a fattier cut, like a 75-25, or I'll go leaner, like a 85-15, depending on what the macros are. Mm-hmm. If I'm really trying to track and get things dialed in, that's what I'll do. If I'm wanting to like just eat meat and I'm not really tracking this closely, then I'll go with the steaks, typically ribeyes. I actually have some shrimp in there. It's super lean, so I don't necessarily recommend eating just shrimp, but I'll add that to my fattier ground beef. Mm-hmm. So shrimp's good, fish is good, canned sardines.
I do love anchovies. Well, but they're usually in olive oil, so it's fat and proteins. But
she's a big fan of the yogurt, so she'll do that.
Vital proteins, collagen, or there's also like bona fide bone broth and things like that. I always choose to have a leaner meat, but then I always have a fat source as well, so that my fat and my protein are pretty equal.
Yeah. All right. We got any other questions? What's our topic going to be next week? Let's ask that question. By the way, we recorded a super cool podcast today. I think y'all are going to like it. I really enjoyed it. You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was fun.
That was very fun.
Who thinks we should do a dual podcast?
Ooh, I don't know if I can tolerate it that much. But that podcast is going to go live on Friday. This Friday. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yep. This Friday.
But it's also going to be a YouTube video that's going to go live on Friday. But it's a really good podcast. I think y'all will enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so. We talked about a lot of different things.
Ted F says, how can I fix my metabolism? I may have reduced my caloric intake for too long. So if you messed up your metabolism by reducing your caloric intake for too long, then do the reverse of that. Reverse that and slowly and gradually and strategically increase your caloric intake for longer than you were reducing your caloric intake. That's going to be a good, solid way to improve your metabolism. Mary says, follow to the question about my husband with a 300 testosterone. We are both keto. He is fasting 16 hours a day. 2, any supplement recommendations for him? So 16 hours a day, there's a lot of good to fasting, but some people may not need to fast. If his testosterone is 300, he may actually benefit from an increasing or a decreasing fasting window, an increasing feeding frequency. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, fasting, it can be super beneficial, but it also can be an added stress to your body.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long he's been doing the fasting. I don't know how long he's been keto, but I would definitely get like a baseline testosterone test now, and then do a shorter feeding fasting window with increased calories. I don't know what his calories in now either, but try that and see if he sees an improvement in his baseline testosterone.
Also, the reason why we aren't suggesting particular supplements is because we try not to take that many supplements. We try to do everything really naturally. So if we can fix things with our diet and things like that, then we would rather do it that way. However, if you are interested in some supplements, I do know Jonathan Shane.
The Keto Road.
Whose name on Instagram and on Facebook is the Keto Road. He has done a lot of different videos.
Boron.
He has done a lot of different videos on testosterone and increasing testosterone levels, and did some studies on supplements. So if you are interested in, stop making fun of me. If you are interested in those supplements, that he might be a great person to talk to.
I never interrupt my wife when she's talking. I want y'all to know that. Kelly says, should I be concerned with glucose 88 to 125 consistently and ketones low to 0.3, keto 2.5 years? 125 is definitely a little higher than I would like to see my blood glucose. I don't know if that's immediately after you train. If you just got done training and you're at 120, that's not too bad. But I would definitely like to see a baseline glucose less than 125. If you have like 88 glucose and low ketones, then I wouldn't really be concerned about that. But having the 125 is a little concerning.
Yes. And also, how are you feeling? And is there anything that you can clean up about your diet? Can you lower your carbs a little bit? Can you increase your fat a little bit? Can you eat a little bit cleaner foods? Just look at those things as well. And that might just be the little thing that really helps you.
Mary says, thanks so much. You both are the best. Well, you're the best, Mary. Thank you. All right. What is the next question for next week?
Yeah. Next week's question.
Next week's question. Lay it on us.
Also, can we talk about Keto Brick?
Oh, yeah.
So Sunday, just so you guys know, we are launching our 100% grass-fed whey protein brick, which is the flavor of chocolate malt. It is gluten-free. People keep asking about the malt. It's just a flavor. But
there's no barley in the brick.
And so we're launching that on Sunday at noon. So we're super excited about it. And if you guys want something, go get it at ketobrick.com.
Yeah, it's going to be the bomb diggity. I'm very, very stoked about this one.
Someone said next topic, reverse dieting.
We talked about reverse dieting last week.
Yeah, we did talk about reverse dieting last week. If you go to our YouTube, It is actually on there. We save all of these lives on there. So you can look at the reverse dieting one. Usually we talk about it mostly within the first 10 minutes. So if you watch the first 10 minutes, you might get it. And then you can always comment on the video and we'll comment back to you.
Frida says, yes, and it's delicious. I'll describe it as chocolate Nesquik.
Ooh, yeah, you're right on that.
That is pretty good.
I said it's a chocolate milkshake in a bar. Deliciousness.
Here we go. Are there any significant nutritional differences between protein isolate
Great
versus
question.
concentrate? This is a very good question because the keto brick that's launching on Sunday uses a concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different ways. You have protein isolates, you have protein concentrates, and you have protein hydrolysates. They're different in the rate they're absorbed and the protein content and the processing. So a whey protein concentrate is going to be the least processed. The least amount of nutrients are stripped out of it. A protein isolate is going to have very, very high protein. I can't speak today.
You are turning into me.
Turning into Crystal. Has hardly any fat content. Everything's stripped except the protein. Hydrolysates even more so. The concentrate is what we use for the brick because it has the least processing, and I wanted to keep things as clean as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a lot of people have problems absorbing the isolates. They have some GI distress. The concentrates are just better. They're more natural. They're cleaner. And you may lack a little bit of the rate of absorption because it's just, the isolate's just pure protein. It's going to absorb more quickly, but that's totally fine. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not trying to spike my insulin levels, have the quickest absorbing protein. I like pairing it with a fat source so that it absorbs a bit more slowly and I can eat a little bit less frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Mindy says, oh my goodness.
Yes. So good.
Kelly says, thanks, guys. Well, thank you, Kelly. John says, have you noticed any dairy allergic issues with the whey protein in the new bricks? No dairy allergic issues. The reason it took us so long to make one that was animal-based is because most of the wheys are just crappy. They use filler ingredients. They're not absorbed as well. They're just not great. Mm-hmm. That's why we haven't used animal-based. But this one is super legit. I haven't had any GI issues.
Yep. I actually have an issue with a lot of whey proteins, and I've been literally eating like a half a brick to a brick a day of the whey ones, and I haven't had any issues at all.
Yeah. So we haven't had a question yet, have we?
Happy birthday, Mrs. Sykes. Thank you very much.
We still need a question for next week.
Yeah, question for next week. We can talk about... It's so hard to think of questions.
Keto Mary, what's our question for next week?
So
Keto Mary 71. What is our question for next week? You gotta let us know. Exciting times.
Exciting times.
Is that what you called it?
Oh yeah.
Exciting things? We talk about exciting things.
I think I said exciting moments.
That's right. That's right. We have like a coin or something. We can just flip it and be like, that's what we're talking about. But that would be kind of tricky. But nobody's answering us.
We could talk about.
What's our question for
maybe
next week?
Maybe we should just think of something and we'll come at you guys next week.
We'll come at you guys. All right. Well, I'm not.
Why I'm way more buff than Robert. Talk about that.
Give us a bicep flex, baby.
No.
Bicep flex, baby. All right. So no questions are rolling in for next week.
All right. Cool. Well, we're gonna think of something and we're gonna pick the topic.
We're picking the topic, y'all. Get ready to rumble.
It's gonna be lame.
Until then. Strength training versus cardio. Frida's got it.
I like that one.
That's a good one.
Thanks for jumping in, girl.
Thanks for pulling the weight, Frida. All right. We'll see y'all then. We're going to talk about strength training versus cardio. Toodaloo.
Goodbye, everyone.